Good morning, Grace.
Good morning, Grandma.
Good morning, everybody. We've got a few things to tell you this morning, but first I want to show you something that I've made. What do you think of that, Grace?
Wow, what is it?
Well, it's meant to be an animal. I made it with Play-Doh. Do you know it's got special powers?
No, I don't think so.
You're right. It doesn't have special powers. It's just a Play-Doh animal. But our story's got an animal in it that the people thought had special powers. The children have been following the story of the Israelites. Now Moses had gone up to the mountain. He was having a talk with God and God was talking to him. And he was up there for a very long time. After a while, the people thought that Moses wasn't coming back. They started to get a bit anxious. I mean, if Moses didn't return, who would lead them out of the desert? How would they get to the promised land? So they came up with their own plan. Grace, would you like to read the verse from the Bible that tells the beginning of the story?
When the people saw that Moses was taking too long to come down from the mountain, they crowded round Aaron and said, "Come on, Aaron, make us a god who will lead us. As for this chap Moses, who brought us out of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him."
Nicely read, well done. However, what was wrong with their plan? Well, they were going to have an idol. They were going to have a different god. And Aaron gave in to them and he said, "Give me all your jewellery, all your gold." And he melted it down and he made it into the shape of a calf, a big golden calf. Do you want to show us the picture of one? So this is what it might have looked like. Okay. Now, what can that calf do, Grace?
Nothing.
Nothing. Could it lead the people out of the desert?
No.
Was it powerful enough to save them from their enemies?
No.
It was not only a pretty crazy thing, but actually was also sinful for the Israelites to think that the calf could do this and to therefore worship the calf that Aaron had created. Now, while all this was happening, Moses was still on the mountain in God's presence. God already knew what was going on with the people down below. He told Moses that the people had already forgotten about God and that he would destroy them because of their sin. Moses realised he had a really important job to do. He had to speak to God on behalf of the Israelites.
So instead of destroying all of the people, God listened to Moses and decided to save them.
That was a pretty cool decision to make, wasn't it? That Moses actually managed to change God's mind. Wow. So Moses came down the mountain carrying the 2 tablets that God had inscribed with the 10 commandments. They kind of looked a bit like this. These ones have got the commandments written in English because that's easier for us to read them. But when Moses saw that the people were worshipping the golden calf, he got so angry that he threw the tablets to the ground, breaking them into many pieces. He couldn't believe that the people could forget God so quickly. Then he burned up the golden calf with fire and ground it into powder and poured the powder into the drinking water, and he made the Israelites drink it. Would that have tasted nice?
No.
Now, do we ever forget God?
Yeah.
Forgetting God doesn't mean that we make a golden calf to worship. Sometimes forgetting God means just thinking that we don't need him or that he's not powerful enough to help us out. Now, the Israelites had forgotten God and their forgetting led them into sin. But Moses was a mediator for the people. Do you know what a mediator is?
No.
Well, it's somebody who stands in for you and speaks for you. That's what Moses did. He stood in God's presence and spoke to him on behalf of the people. He could listen to God and hear what God had to tell the people and then tell them for him. God had chosen Moses to be that mediator. Moses loved and cared about the people of Israel, and he asked God to have mercy upon them. Now, Moses couldn't take away their sin, but he asked God to look differently on it. Now, that was then. This is now. We haven't got Moses to mediate for us. Instead, we have Jesus. He's our man in the middle, with God on one side and us on the other. Jesus is the perfect mediator. Even when we do really bad things, we can never sin so much that Jesus' sacrifice can't deal with it. God's grace is much, much bigger than our sin. So, have a look at that. Does God look like a golden calf?
No.
Do we know what God looks like?
No.
But we do know about his character. And God's character is that he loves us. He loves you, he loves me, and he loves all of you. And that Jesus is our mediator. Thank you for listening.